Greetings fellow YouTubers, you are with Devastorm Ancient History and today's video is going to be about the new Egyptian kingdom. So I'm afraid that this is going to be the last chapter of the Egyptian chronology for now, unless some of you request a topic from me. Either way, I will talk about Egypt again in the moment of and after the Roman sublimation. So without further ado, let's begin. The reign of Hyksos lasted for 150 years. During this time, it influenced a lot the other Egyptian territories. The Egyptian population along the delta has been enslaved. Only the southern parts of Egypt remained independent. Around Thebes, there has been a unity of nomes which are considered to be the natural continuation of the Egyptian governmental tradition. The political tendencies of getting rid of the Hyksosian rule and the rebirth of the Egyptian kingdom appeared in the 16th century BC. The last pharaohs of the 17th Theban dynasty started an active policy of fighting the Hyksos and freeing Egypt. The fighting became more dynamic during the rule of Khamesu. The Egyptian forces besieged the Hyksos capital of Avaris, but it was unsuccessful. The fighting has been continued by Ahmose I. He managed to take over Avaris after 3 years of siege. The military expeditions and many other events of that time are well described in the autobiography of one of the high suite of the pharaoh whose name has also been Ahmose. Ahmose I was presented as the first pharaoh of the new Egyptian kingdom and the founder of 18th Theban dynasty. 1580 BC is accepted among the historians throughout the globe to be the year of the new Egyptian kingdom. It lasted for 5 centuries and it has been ruled by 3 dynasties. Many sources are preserved from this period of Egypt: literature, religious and mythological works. The agricultural possibilities of Egypt became more advanced in this period, and with it the production of food was boosted. The country has turned into a powerful force which was influential and powerful for a long period of time in this region of the world. The pharaohs of the 18th dynasty ruled from 1580 to 1314 BC. Ahmose I, 1580-1557, waged 3 wars against Nubia after the liberation. All of them were successful. Amenhotep I is the next pharaoh in that list, 1557-1530. He led the military campaigns to the east and he reached river Euphrates. I will try to be brief about this so I can cover 5 centuries in one video. If you have questions, ask them in the comment section below. Thutmose I, 1530-1520, he continued the military expansions to the south, reaching the 3rd threshold of the river Nile. Later, he reached the west bank of the river Euphrates, impaling through Syria and Palestine. He managed to defend and stabilize the new territories in the Near East. Thutmose II, 1520-1505, he wanted to keep and stabilize the new territories his predecessors included in the state. He extinguished several rebellions in Nubia and Syria. The events of rebellions were a consequence of the impossibility of the Egyptian government to sustain the order in new territories which were won so fast. After the death of Thutmose II, Thutmose III gained power along with Hatshepsut, the wife of Thutmose II. In time, she gained more power and became officially a pharaoh. She ruled Egypt for 21 years. She couldn't completely remove him from the throne, which probably means that he had a lot of support from the nomarchs. But still, she was the leading person in her time. Her reign was a peaceful one, but with no military presence in the new territories, Egypt lost Syria, Palestine, and some of the Nubian regions. So after the death of Hatshepsut in 1484, Thutmose III regained all his power and got rid of her supporters. Then quickly he started new military campaigns to regain back the lost lands. Main reason for this sudden change of politics was the desire for more resources and slaves, which Egypt needed, and all his campaigns were successful. Amenhotep II, 1450-1425, merely sustained the military presence in the new land, and there the new threat appeared from northeast, the Hittites. Thutmose IV, 1425-1408, in his time, Egypt and Mitanni became from enemies allies in order to withstand the new threat, the Hittites. So Thutmose IV married a Mitannian princess to certify the union, and the child of this marriage was Amenhotep III. The next pharaoh we will talk about is Amenhotep III, 1408-1372 BC. His reign has been rather peaceful. He never wanted a war between the Hittites and Egypt. He emphasized not on military activities as foreign politics but rather with diplomacy. His successor has been Amenhotep IV, 1372-1354. The ongoing military politics of Egypt in the years before him have led to the gain of a lot of resources, money and slaves. The country has been flourishing regardless of the northeastern threat. But these riches were not allocated properly. Only the small group of the aristocrats was enjoying the spoils of war, but the poor were becoming poorer. The Theban priesthood of god Ammon has always been strongly connected and supportive to the pharaohs. Gradually, the priesthood of Ammon became not only the most important economical factor, but also the most important political player in Egypt. Amenhotep IV was the first to realize that priests in Thebes possessed a lot of power and influenced the politics. The formal control of the country has been in the hands of the pharaohs, but the actual influence came from the priests. So Amenhotep IV decided to reduce the power of the priesthood and completely restore the power of the pharaohs. He made a vital religious reform in the sense of converting polytheism and monotheism. This has been something revolutionary for the ancient times. The pharaoh used the inequality of the separate religious groups, namely Ammon's priesthood in Thebes and the cults to the sun entity Ra-Horakhte in Heliopolis and Memphis. He declared himself to be the first priest Ra-Horakhte and ordered the construction of a large temple dedicated to that creature. He also forbid the cult to Ammon all across the country, and the names and images of Ammon were erased from the monuments, statues, etc. This act marked the beginning of the second part of his reform. He stopped the worshiping of Ra-Horakhte and started the cult to Aten, which has also been a northern Egyptian entity of the light and sun. Amenhotep IV even changed his name to Akhenaten, Shining of Athens. He ordered the founding and construction of a new city as a new capital of Egypt to replace the former one. Akhetaton is the name of that city, which means horizon of Aten. The aristocracy, which traditionally held key positions, was connected to the cult of Ammon, so it has been quickly dealt with. It has been replaced by new people loyal to the pharaoh, probably from the middle class of the Egyptian society. But the cultists of Ammon were strong enough to withstand the reforms and the attempt of Akhenaton. His success was partial. After his death, it all fell apart. Eventually, the polytheism has been restored, and the priesthood of Ammon regained its power. Many historians consider that these reforms had more to them, like the inclusion of new territories, tribes and people in the borders of Egypt, and also the foreign policies of Egypt required one more eligible religion. After the death of Amenhotep IV, the Egyptian positions in Syria faded. The Hittites capitalized on this weakness and destroyed the country at Mitanni. So, as this video is long enough already, I will quickly upload these days a second part video to finish the story of the new Egyptian kingdom. Don't forget to subscribe, comment and like so you can be part of something greater.